Welcome to the Hot Mess Cosmic Express, where we talk about the stars, shuffle a few cards, and never pretend to have our shit together. Hello, everyone. I am professional tarot reader and certified moonologer Darcy Britt.
And I am Tracy Gardner, your co-commander of chaos. Buckle up. Scorpio season is here, and the cosmic pressure is about to turn truth into transformation. The cosmos isn't playing small, and neither are we. Today, we're going to talk about some of the transits, including the full moon in Taurus. But before we get started, Darcy's going to pull a card for us.
Yeah, I figured we did this on the last episode, and I kind of like doing it. So guess what? I decided rather than bringing my favorite oracle deck, which is Wisdom of the Oracle in here, to be honest, because if I bring it into the studio with me, it's the only deck I have, and chances are I'm going to forget to put it back in my bag and back in my car for when I go to do readings at the shop on Wednesday nights. So I'm going to go ahead and keep drawing for us on these episodes out of my Moonology manifestation cards from Yasmin Boland. Yeah, because I thought when we talk about the moon and we do these episodes that are focused more on the moon, a lot of it has to do with manifesting. And I'll talk usually in every episode why it's so important to think about that particular phase of the moon, not just in general for life, but also from the aspect of if you're shooting for goals and things like that, what it means and how you can work best with it. So let's just all just take a couple of deep breaths. We're going to do 3 deep breaths in. I think we did this last time, right? So let's take 1 deep breath in. We'll go 1, blow it out. Another one in and out. And then a third one in and out. There we go. Nicely done. Now everybody's nice and centered. Let's see what kind of guidance we all need right now on a collective basis to reach our goals. Let's see here. All right. I am going to pick this guy. Oh my goodness. All right. So what I picked was, again, camera does not do well. I just hate this autofocus thing. It is the full, look, I'm going to keep going back. So what card I've pulled here is the full moon in Virgo card. And the full moon in Virgo card, this particular one from this deck has the words with it that it's time for you to take inspired action, which means, Tracy's laughing for those of you who are watching this on the video, that it's time for you to get shit done. But when you're going to get shit done, it needs to be inspired, right? We've got things that we have to do because we know that those are things that they're just part of our day to day. They're expected of us. It's part of my routine. But when we've got action and things to do that actually inspire us, that got us a little fire in our belly, that get us a little of an explosive like energy, chances are we're going to reach that goal because there's an emotional fire that's behind it. And that's a lot of what that reaching the goal is. So this particular card right now, everyone out there listening is telling us it's time to take inspired action. Now, because these are oracle cards, and I know I'm going to burn up a little bit of time here, but I think it's good to point out and it's fun to do. Oracle cards always or most of the time come with a fun little interpretation deck. Love these. They are so easy for beginners because there's not a lot of intuitive need when you're starting out. You can pick a card and then you can just pull it up in the book and see what it actually says. And then as you start to dive deeper into using certain decks, you'll see certain things, symbols, signs, and whatnot, or have different things that happen to you when certain cards come up. So you actually develop like your own kind of personal diary of what that means. But I just wanted to see here what it says for the full moon in Virgo for everybody out there. Oh my goodness, it's really hiding from me here. Come on now. There we go. So it says here, so she wrote, this card is bursting with goddess energy and reminds you that while it's wonderful to have lofty dreams, you also need to ground those desires by taking inspired action. Commune with the heavens, but take practical steps down here on earth. Draw down the energies of the divine by doing something as seemingly trivial as making a bullet point list of what you need to do to manifest your dreams into reality. Also, know that you are 100% worthy of your dreams. Ditch your self effacement, your criticism, and your second guessing of yourself and of others. So, this card comes with the message that it's that you need to find a balance between big dreams and being practical. I love it.
That is really fitting.
It is really fitting, so hopefully I mean, I think that fits based on the conversation we were having pre-show,
Right?
hopefully right? And I love it, that's what I always have to giggle whenever I do readings, I just that's why I love this so very, very much, and I will share the manifestation affirmation that she provides here, if that really hit home for anybody, is, "I forgive myself for everything, I am doing my best." So that's I forgive myself for everything. I am doing my best, right? I'm only human. I'm a work in progress, babe. So hopefully that helps a few people take some inspired action and get on with their goals as we move towards this a full moon in Taurus. Yeah, it's going to hit us on October. I'm sorry, October. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to talk about November. I'm so floored.
This year is flying by.
Tracy,
I can't
oh my
believe it's almost here.
gosh. It just every time it totally gets me. But I wanted to talk about this full moon in Taurus. It's going to hit us on Wednesday, November the 5th at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And again, check your local listings. That is Eastern Standard Time. And I always give the time when we talk about these lunar events or lunations, as we call them in the moon community, just because there are certain things, if you're really, really following, and we're going to talk again and more about manifesting with the moon and how the full moon plays into it as we go into this episode, guys. So make sure you got a pen and a paper. Um, but when we're working with the full moon in specifically when we talk about the phase energy, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper, but that full moon phase is when the moon hits 100%. So right there with it. And as it gets to 100%, it will immediately start to wane and go back down and hit 99%. And so if you're really, really manifesting and you're really doing things balls to the wall in accordance with the moon and the phase energy, you want to release your energy at a very specific time with the full moon. And then on the flip side, you would want to set your wishes or your intentions off into the universe by a crystal grid or finalizing a ritual or a ceremony of such, or folding your paper and tucking it away at a specific point at that new moon. Typically, with the new moon, we make those wishes before the new moon. And then with the full moon, we do those releasings like almost immediate, like right at the time of the full moon. Because then that way, as that moon and that energy kind of carries off, then guess what? Then it goes away. So that's why I always give the times on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually makes sense.
Okay. Okay. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, just to clarify for everybody, when we talk about all of these moons and such as we keep going, when we say the moon is in, or like say it's the full moon in Taurus or the Taurus full moon, that is the sign of the moon, not the sign of the sun. The sun usually gets all the spotlight, so I know it really pisses him off that the moon gets all of the glory when it comes to all of these moon parts. But it really has not a whole lot to do with where the sign of the sun is. It does come into play, but when we say full moon in Taurus, we're talking about the moon being in Taurus. So, in effect, for those of you who are following along and have your birth charts, probably want to pull that out and take a look and see where you find the sign of Taurus on your birth chart, because that's going to help you understand a more personal kind of moon horoscope or moon, I don't know, moon scope, moonscape, whatever, for how this particular full moon in Taurus is going to hit you. And to give everybody a great example of how that's going to work, I'm actually going to break it down for the Scorpio rising people out there who have Taurus in their sixth house as we keep going along. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to do, is to go through that. So I know you and I are both Sagittarius rising, so that you're not gonna argue with me on that, are you?
Did you say Scorpio rising or
Oh,
Sagittarius
just
rising?
I don't know, I can't go back. I meant Sagittarius
I
rising.
think you said Scorpio rising, but you meant Sagittarius. Is that
I
right?
did, I'm sorry. If I said it incorrectly, boys and girls, I'm gonna break it down later for Sagittarius rising. Sorry, the sun is in Scorpio, so of course Scorpio is all up on my note board for the show notes and stuff, so I just it's too many things. It's too many S.
I just wanted to make sure because when you said ours is in the sixth house, I'm like,
Yeah, sorry, I meant for Sagittarius rising. It is, yeah, there we go. So for those of us who are Sagittarius rising. Um, Now the sun does come into play in the fact that it creates, astrologically speaking, the full moon. The sun is in the sign that's exactly on the opposite side of the zodiac of the sign where the moon is. So for this full moon in Taurus, we've got the moon in Taurus, but the sun is all the way over 180 degrees on the other side in that sign of Scorpio that I keep kind of talking about. So what that does is that leads to, I mean, everybody knows the energy of the full moon is like batshit crazy. And it's really, can get pretty intense for us or maybe even people around us. But that is caused by that tug of war, that astrological, we call it an opposition when two planets or two celestial bodies are 180 degrees apart. It's called an opposition. And what it does is it creates a tug of war against those energies. And so that's why a lot of times we'll see that climax of things emotionally around the time of the full moon. As the full moon reaches that 100%, it's just that opposition as those two guys get really lined up. And here, I'm going to totally digress here, but I have to tell you guys, this is what's really so cool. If you go outside, so the full moon's going to hit us on November the 5th at about 8:19 a.m. Now, keep in mind that the sun and the moon are exactly 180 degrees apart. But if you go outside in the sky, this is so cool because I did this at the full moon in Aries and I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. But if you go outside at just the right time, you can literally see as the sun's coming, you can see the moon coming up. I mean, you can see, oh my gosh, they are literally 180 degrees apart. It is the coolest thing to look out in the sky and see, holy shit, that's now I understand why that moon rise is so amazing over here in the west, or I'm sorry, in the east, as the sun is setting right there in the west. I'm like, which one do I want to watch? This awesome sunset or this amazing moonrise? And it's just really, really neat to see that happen. Sorry. But so while it's really pretty to see emotionally, it's fucked up and it gets it's a little batshit crazy, right?
well, it's opposition. So you have that polling.
Yeah,
You
tug of
have
war.
that exactly.
Yeah, it gets and so full moons, I mean, and they're notorious. I mean, it's funny, I have a meme I think I've posted on Facebook before. It's like supposed to be like a breaking news, but it shows the full moon and it says, full moon tired of being blamed for everything. And really it does get a really a bad rap. But in that aspect, no pun intended, some of the keywords that we talk about we think about when we talk about the full moon are like climaxes, conclusions, and like really big emotions. This is the time where stuff ends, right? That sometimes has been bubbling up. And it could be stuff in our life or it could be stuff around us. That's the one thing too when we talk about this is it's not always a direct impact to our lives, which is kind of nice. You have to get a feel for it, right? Because if it's not happening in your life, you can pretty much bet somebody around you's experiencing this. And you just have to hope that if it is happening in your life, that someone around you has the foresight to be like, oh shit, let me go help that person out a little bit. Because
Right?
full moons can be a little bit nuts. And not only do we have that opposition, so we talked about full moon energy, right? That phase energy, full moons, it's 100%. I talked a little bit about releasing with the full moon. And I'm going to talk a little more about that in a minute. But as we talk about the phase energy, phase meaning there's 8 lunar phases, and the full moon is smack dab in the middle of that lunar cycle. And it's 100% when it's 100% illuminated in the sky. So the sun is completely reflecting the light off of the sun. 100%. You can see it up there. Absolutely big and beautiful. PSA out there, guys, don't try to look at it with a telescope. You will hurt your eyeballs. I've tried it way too many times, so that's my PSA there. Um, but when it's in that, what was I talking about? Help bring me back. I was talking about all of a sudden I saw my eyeball seeing the
the
moon.
the phases.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So it's that 100%. So it's a climax and it's a conclusion. But as a part of that, so everybody talks about how it's so crazy and whatnot, and we all know what the energy is. But when we're really going to work with it and work with that phase energy, what it really means it's time for is it's time to, sorry, I've got an itch in my nose. It's time for us to release stuff. It's time to get rid of things. It's time to kind of out with the old, in with the new. One of the most wonderful things I love about working with the moon is because we get a full moon every month. Huh. Sometimes we actually get two. Sometimes we do get lucky and get 13 full moons in a calendar year. But you effectively get one opportunity every single month to get your shit together, clean your clutter up. Get rid of your subscriptions you don't use. Clean out your old emails. Go through that once a month. If you do nothing more than when we talk about this full moon, but you set a goal that, okay, I'm going to go down and I'm at least going to, unsubscribe to 5 stupid emails that I never read. You're doing it, right? So it's all about releasing and getting rid of things. And that comes along with that conclusion or that climactic energy where things kind of end. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we take it a little bit deeper. I mean, I love saging at the full moon. It's a lot of the energy cleansing gets a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? It gets a lot of the glory, I think. And it's not, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's really the thing that, I mean, it's the easiest thing to do, right? I'm going to grab some sage, I'm going to cleanse some stuff, which is great. But when we talk about the full moon and working with the full moon and these kind of episodes, we're going a little bit deeper on that. And there is, when we talk about working with the moon, there is work involved, right? As much as I really wish you could just, I mean, wishes do come true. Don't get me wrong. There is a huge element of magic out there. And that's a whole nother topic that I love to talk about and totally believe in. But a lot of manifesting is just putting in the work and working and peeling off the layers. And so that's why working with that phase energy of the full moon and actually doing some energetic, not just your space releasing, but some in here releasing and some reflection. We're going to talk about the 5 R's of the full moon. But doing some inner work with the full moon is really most like one of the most critical steps in your manifesting. And it's often overlooked just because we get in the habit of, okay, I'm going to sage, I'm going to go, we've all got things that we do on the full moon. But sitting down and doing these 5 R's that I'm going to go through with everybody is often overlooked. But I'm going to tell you what, it's a key to making your manifesting or your goals and things happen, because it takes care of a whole nother side or a deeper level of that cleansing part of it. That's why we like to talk about these full moons. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Sorry, I have an itch. Sorry. You know what? Here, I'm going to be honest. I didn't put a bra on today. I didn't put a bra on yesterday. Tracy, this is a win for me because it has now been, well, see, I took my bra off when I got out of my Halloween costume on Friday night, and I have yet to put a bra on. Now,
That sounds
girls,
like a good weekend.
it is. Now, the girls are hanging a little low. Okay. A little low. Kenny's like, doesn't that feel so freeing? I'm like, no, because I just, I don't know. In my mind, I'm visualizing these guys flying to and fro, and it's like, okay, ain't nobody want to see that.
Now, all I have stuck in my head is, do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to
See,
and
I
fro?
sing that song all the time. I'm like, do your boobs hang low? Do they wobble to it? Yeah, right. So, but I decided, I thought, I'm not going to put a bra on. I even went to the grocery store last night without a bra on, but I had on like a tight coat, so the girls were like supported. Because when you don't have one on and you're 52, they hang a little low. You can tell if I'm wearing a bra or not, and I don't need everybody to see the girls swinging everywhere. Plus, if I go running after a zombie or, save a kitten from a fire or something, I really don't need my tits getting in the way. Okay, I'm just gonna be really honest and be like, Miss, what happened? I just hit myself, got a
See,
black eye.
my luck is when my car would break down or something would happen where I needed to be like, or like I didn't realize I needed gas, so I have to get out of the car, something like that. That's usually what happens.
Right, right. I do always remember my mom saying, "You always have shoes." Make sure you're always prepared, right? So I do
Yes.
now. I do always have my towel. I don't go anywhere without a towel. Big hitchhiker, 42. I always have a towel in my car, and it's usually in a milk crate in the back. I have a pickleball set, a pair of tennis shoes, a like a blanket, like a Mexican. We bought it. It's a oh shoot, I can't remember what they call it. It's a special kind of blanket, but anyway, it's just a really nice little blanket that I keep in the back there, and then I have a white towel. Always have a white towel with me. It's a crazy, but it's always in the back of my car just in case. That's my
You
my
just
piece.
never know. We have to be prepared.
You do have to be prepared. You do. So, which brings us back to the reason why everybody's listening to this podcast is to try to get in prepared for this full moon that's coming up. So, okay, let's dive into this. So, I talked about the fact that it's the full moon in Taurus happening on November the 5th. And when we talk about the fact that it's an opposition and it's 180 degrees apart and it's a tug of war, here's what it kind of breaks down as, because the moon in astrology is all about our emotions. It reflects our emotions. So at the time of the moon and the emotions that we feel are going to take on like a flavor of Taurus. Okay. So they're going to have a little bit more of a Taurus flavor. You're going to, on the inside, you're going to be feeling more things that have more of those Taurus characteristics. And we're going to talk about that. But then on the flip side, that sun, 180 degrees away, shines a spotlight. Sun is the ego. Sun is where life is going to be pushing us. During this full moon in Taurus, the moon is in Scorpio. So life is going to be very focused on things that are very Scorpio like, right? So Scorpio likes to live life to the fullest, it likes to get out there. It likes to feel things 100% if it's really going to feel it. It likes to get out there and get things done. So that's really where life is going to be pushing you kind of as we move towards this full moon in Taurus. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have, yeah.
So I do what? Do you have a question? Ask me.
No, I was going to just in my head, I'm just like, okay, you have the sun in Scorpio,
Yep. Yep.
moon in Taurus.
Yep. What does that mean
So,
to you? Because you know all
so,
about oppositions, right? I focus more on the moon. You're teaching me so much about the oppositions and stuff. What does that, when you think about Taurus and it having the opposite of Scorpio, what does that kind of feel like to you, I guess?
so Taurus, when I think of Taurus, stability as far in,
Yeah.
so emotion and then,
Yeah. It likes stability. It likes Ferdinand the Bull, right? Taurus is all
yeah.
about like Ferdinand the Bull. It likes to sit back and just watch everything and just kind of see whatever, and everything's fine. I'm good. Everything is good. There's no need to change. Everything's good. I'm just looking around. I'm really, really happy until it sees something at once or it gets stung on the ass by a bee and then it can't stop.
There you go.
And it's sometimes like irrational, right? And like absolutely crazy. And that's a really great way to think about Taurus. And it's also, it loves beauty. It's ruled by the planet of Venus. So it likes things that are, it likes a little bit of luxury. It doesn't mind being a little more touchy feely. I think a lot of times a love language might be part of it, is kind of like that touchy feely, likes to be sensual, very, very sensual kind of sign. So that's kind of where your emotions are going to be. And now, I'm not saying that you're going to be emotionally stubborn, but what it really does is that Taurus energy leans more towards the safe side of stuff. It's when we don't like the change, when we don't like, when we talked about sitting there on top of that hill and just watching things go by, we're okay with things the way that they are. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And so that's where our emotions are really at. Is like things are okay for us right now emotionally. Things are feeling okay. I'm all right with the way things are at. I'm playing it safe. There's no need to change anything up. I'm feeling okay. Maybe for the first time in a long time, I'm feeling emotionally okay. But with this full moon in Taurus and that opposition and that sun and that ego being in Scorpio, it is really going to be pushing you to get out there and to be doing things. It's almost like, I would have to say, kicking off like a busy period where change is almost inevitable. And I think that plays up with a lot of the other astrological things that we have going on right now that changes are happening. We talked about Pluto moving into Aquarius and transformation on that level. And so it's going to just get a little bit more intense as we get further into Scorpio season here. That push to make changes, that push to evolve, that push to kind of live life to the fullest. But then for a lot of us on the emotional side, we're going to be feeling like we don't want to move along or we don't want to do anything that doesn't feel like it's safe. We're okay with where it's at. Now, if that's not you, that may be somebody else. So somebody else in your life may be like very resistant to change. I use the phrase a lot, don't move my cheese or who moved my cheese.
Right.
Um, because Taurus doesn't really like change at all. And Scorpio's all about, I don't mind changing it. I don't mind. I'm going to do whatever I have to do so that I can live it to the fullest. And so we just have to watch for, can you see kind of, I guess, where that tug of war comes into, where it's like, hey, I want to really play it safe. I don't feel like I really need to change a whole lot in my life. But life, and it could be your job, it could be just life in general, is really pushing for some really big changes and for you to get out there and to really live life and to try things maybe that you haven't always tried. Does that show you that tug of war?
Yes.
Okay. So you have to find when we talk about it, and it's funny because before we hit record, I was telling Tracy that when you sit down, I sit down to write these, it's very interesting because it's you're writing information that you're giving to somebody, but it changes every single time. And I use the phrase, and I do not equate myself in any way, shape, or form to someone who would deliver a sermon, but it is what I would equate. Like if you're going to sit down and you're trying to come up, you have a theme, you know what you want to talk about. It's on a weekly basis and you want to deliver this theme. But my theme always changes based on what week it is. And I wrote down something for this full moon a couple of weeks ago, and it's completely different when we talked about than what I wrote when I sat down tonight to prepare for this. I got to quit working twice on stuff, Tracy. I keep double working stuff. It's pissing me off. But anyway, when we talk about, so Taurus, earthbound, right? Or not earthbound, it's an earth sign. We've got Scorpio, it's a water sign. These guys do get along, but these guys are right now going to be a tug of war when we get into this Taurus full moon. And what it's going to prompt you to really do is to find a balance between your kind of slightly stubborn Taurus side and you liking life the way it is, and the sun and life really pushing that Scorpio vibe, not to mention Mars in Sagittarius, and then also Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius coming up as well. Sun is going to be pushing you to really get out there and get your life changed, change things up. It's an opportunity that only comes around once every so often. And so you really have to start asking yourself, and I put this out there to everybody to journal on as we move towards this full moon in Taurus. But are you here? And when I say, are you here? I mean, are you here in this existence? Are you here living this life? Are you here to play it safe? Or are you here to grow? And based on your individual and totally unique answer to that question, you need to ponder a little bit deeper. Because if you are trying to manifest things, you're trying to grow, you have to start realizing that change is inevitable. And if you don't embrace it and sometimes even initiate it, things can pass you by. And the reason I say that is because Taurus energy, and we're talking about your emotions. So this is where it's stubborn. Okay. It doesn't like to change things up and it likes things the way they are. So in areas of your life where you are emotionally attached or emotionally charged, if you're just kind of going through the motions and you're just happy with things just because they're not good, they're not bad, they're just okay, you're just playing it safe,
You're comfortable.
you're comfortable, that may be an area of your life that's going to be a focus where, hey, maybe it's time for a change, good, bad, or ugly, right? those areas maybe just in general where you're going to feel that push as we move towards this full moon in Taurus. And that's because it's prompting you to grow. It's really the whole energy as we move between the time we record this episode and the time of that full moon in Taurus. The whole energy is doing nothing more than prompting you to get off your ass and grow. That's really what it is, because that's what Taurus does. It's happy sitting on its ass high on that hill, chewing on its cud, and it's happy there. That's what this score. So that's where a lot of this energy is gonna be felt. And so when we talked about that card that I pulled before about take inspired action, it kind of comes along with that, because again, so I guess I would tell everybody you've been warned. So because this full moon as we get here, it's not going to be all bad. And I will say this, because when we talk about these moons, we spoke about this earlier, the sun and the moon are 180 degrees apart. Well, the moon also makes other aspects with other planets that add more flavor into the stew of the moon. During this particular full moon in Taurus, there are no other aspects going on. So it is literally just sun versus moon, which is really, it makes it a little bit of a less of an impactful or less of a muddy kind of full moon, because it's just raw sun versus moon ego. You don't have any other planets in there like Jupiter and Saturn and, oh, learn a lesson, and, oh, here's this. It's just straight up, you're going to be your emotions versus your ego. So while it's straight up energy, is concentrated energy. So it's just, it could be a little bit of a rough one if you're too stubborn. So I would just tell everybody, take a look at your life. And if there are changes being prompted, or if you've been feeling like a change is necessary, but you're just like, things aren't so bad, that's probably the area where things may need a little bit of a look as we come to this full moon in Taurus, or that may even come up in conversation, or and I guess under the spotlight as we get towards that full moon in Taurus. That's a big one. It's all about getting shit done. It really, really is.
And that's where you can take it another level by knowing what house Taurus is on your chart, because that takes it to another level where you
Yes.
can dive into that area of your life.
Yeah, exactly. So, because that's just basic. So if we're at a very, very high level when we're doing this, we talk about the full moon in Taurus, we're just looking at, hey, moon, or, it's a full moon, high emotions, moon emotions, Taurus, blah, 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 stubborn, loves all kinds of, and stubborn is not a bad thing, right? Sometimes that's, you've got people like me that I'm like a fart in a fucking whirlwind. And it's nice to have a stubborn husband sometimes I thank God he doesn't listen to this podcast. But it's nice to have a stubborn husband sometimes, because he helps me to slow down a little bit, right? He helps to kind of tame it down. So that stubborn, when we say that, it's not always bad, right? It can also be on a good side. Um, I forget what the fuck was I talking about?
You were just going through how, like, what the characteristics of Taurus is in the moon, and then I think you were going to go to how you had the sun, and
I'm
then
so glad
talking
you
about
pay attention.
how
I'm so glad you pay attention.
that's what I'm here for, the
Girl, I'm
Virgo.
so glad, because I'm like all over the place. Yeah. So that's just at the very basic. So yeah, your Taurus is your emotions, and then your sun would end up being the sign, or those where life is really, really pushing you. But if you want to go a little bit deeper into it, and you really want to find out like what you'll really be feeling on the inside, so you specifically, what you'll be dealing with in where that Taurus energy is going to be, you need to look at your chart and find out where's the house, where's the moon on your chart, what house is the moon in on your chart. So since the moon is in Taurus, you want to pull out your birth chart and take a look and find out what house do you find Taurus in. If you are Sagittarius rising, you should find Taurus. Where's your Taurus at?
Sixth house.
Sixth house. Okay. That's funny, because I was waiting for somebody else to go and to answer, tell me where their house was, and there's nobody else on this call. Holy shit.
Dude, do you have people in your closet with you?
I really don't know. Yeah, you were just like in the sixth, and I was waiting because like on work call, somebody else to be, yep, and I'm da 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 da, it's here. And that's why I just kind of paused and looked. I thought, Darcy, there is nobody else here for that. Okay. So, same premise, moon emotions, Taurus, right? So, moon equals our emotions. Emotions will be Taurus like. And if Taurus is in your sixth house, that's the emotional area where you may feel this, that where your emotions may be focused. So, on the inside, so if Taurus is there in your sixth house, you may be emotionally thinking about more along the lines of your daily routines, your habits. Trying to think of what else is sixth
Your
house
health.
energy, your health. It's that day to day. It's not a fun place to be. It's typically ruled by Virgo, so I can totally speak to that. It's very analytical. It's very, so you may find actually, so that's a great way. I love talking this through. You could find your emotion, you could be like emotionally like analyzing stuff, right? Finding that you're analyzing um where you're at. And it could be in reference to your health goals, right? You could be just be where you're at in reference to life, but you may find like you're being a little overly critical of yourself and where you're at in life with reference to your habits and discipline and things like that. Okay. So that's where your emotions are going to be. That's what you're dealing with on the inside. Okay. But the rest of the world and the life is where the sun's at. And so look on your chart. The sun is in the sign of Scorpio. So take a look on your chart. And Tracy, tell me, where do you find what house is Scorpio?
12th house.
And that's because you are Sagittarius rising, correct?
Yes.
Got it. So, this, because now this is the 12th house on your chart, and houses are all about the areas of your life where things are going on. So, what this does is this shows you what area of your life is going to be the spotlight or where the sun is really going to be shining things. So, for again, you said that that was your 12th house, right? So
Yes.
here's like the crazy thing. So here's how I'm going to break that down for you, little Sagittarius rising. So because the sun is in the 12th house is all about your spiritual journey, but it's also about sabotage and it's also about self-sabotage. So chances are life is going to be throwing all kinds of fucking challenges your way in an attempt to sabotage or to really to kind of throw you off your course. Now, emotionally, you are focused on your habits, your routines, and those, whether it's health conscious, whatever it is, it's your daily routines. Um, in this case, for us, it's okay for you to be stubborn because life is trying to push you all around. But you need to be aware of that, make sure you don't self sabotage yourself, right? By being too stubborn. Okay. So that's where you have to go. All right. Am I too rigid in my daily routines to where I'm not leaving any time or space for any of these changes that are happening? So, because life is still going to be pushing you to make those changes, you may think that they're meant to throw you off your course, but they're also meant to shake up your energy and think, am I being too stubborn? Again, am I here just to play it safe or am I here to grow? And if you're here to grow, you got to just change a little bit. So you need to be paying attention to where life, because you may sabotage things. And for those of us that are that sixth and 12th house, this is kind of a really important one to pay attention to. Does that help?
Yeah, it actually
Sorry,
does.
it's so hard to explain. I feel like it's so bad because just for so everybody, if you're not watching the video, it's funny because I told Tracy a lot of times when we do these, I'm just I'm going through notes and then going off of notes. But I feel bad just like railroading Tracy and just not being like, Tracy, does that make sense? Because I don't even really look at her while we're doing this. I'm looking up at like my notes or I'm looking off to the left or the right. And so I don't even know if she has something she wants to say.
No,
Um,
this is the moon is your specialty, so I'm just sitting back, taking it all in, and I'll input when I have something or ask a question. If it's I feel the listeners might have a question, but no, this is your specialty, so
okay.
I love listening to it all because every time I learn,
I
even though I know you know about the full moon, I always learn something.
Well,
when we
that's
go.
good because you know what? I can guarantee you that I'm never gonna say it the same way twice. That's a promise on the Hot Mess Cosmic Express. Yeah, I mean, I will never say it twice, the same way. It's that's just the way it goes. But back to that. Hopefully, people are starting to understand when we talk about these full moons. Again, the moon is all about our emotions. So, and it reflects how we feel on the inside. And so, as we get to this full moon in Taurus, that means the moon is in Taurus. So it's kind of hinting around and saying, hey, like, knock, knock, this is where your emotions are going to be pulling you. Okay. Um, and so we've got that part, but then we've got a tug of war. And that tug of war comes from the fact that the sun is 180 degrees on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel. In the sign of Scorpio. And it depends on your houses, right? Houses will tell you where in your life you'll feel this. But overall, what you end up with, regardless if you're going just by the signs or if you're diving deeper into your chart with the houses, it's a tug of war. And the whole point of all of this work is to try to find a balance. So as I've walked through all of this, what I'm trying to bring everybody to, we talk about full moon phase and that phase energy, and we talk about, what the moon is and what the sun is and what that opposition is and how we're going to work with it. The real point and what everybody is really prompted to do as we get to this is really focus on understanding how your instinctive emotional reactions to all the changes that are going on in life and all of the things that you're being pushed to doing, how your emotional instinctive reactions might just be holding you back from actually reaching all of your goals. It's hard to admit that you're the problem, but sometimes that is the honest to fucking God truth. And that's where, when we talk about this stubborn Taurus and how Scorpio's pushing you to change and all of this, the whole point of it, the climax that I'm trying to get us to here is that whole theme of what the point is of working with this moon. And it's all about understanding how your reaction, are you reacting in a way that is embracing change and but still having healthy boundaries, right? But we don't have to just embrace change and just throw caution to the wind. You don't have to be a yes man to everything, or are we being stubborn and not looking at things or trying to change things up, even if nobody's telling us to? Maybe we just have to do it on our own. Is that Could that maybe be the one thing that changes it all up for us and helps us get our goal? Are we in our own way? And that comes whether it's sabotage in your 12th house or whether it's Taurus stubborn, and that's just based on the sign. That's really the point of working with this full moon in Taurus, really diving deeper. So if you're looking into journal questions, I don't have them, but I would base them off of, where, I mean, I know I have them somewhere, but I would really look into those Taurus like qualities and think and ask myself, okay, where maybe it's not where am I being stubborn, but where do I feel stagnant? Where do I feel like I've been sitting too long? Maybe you feel that movement and you're ready. Maybe you're not just happy sitting there. You've started to sense the feeling like the bee is coming for your butt and it's going to be time to get up. And you kind of are. I think it's interesting because I think our vibrations really start to catch on to that. We start to realize, okay, I feel it's coming. Take a look at your life. If you take a moment to look back or not to look back, but to step back from your day to day and just say, okay, what from a different perspective might be happening in these other areas of my life? A lot of times you can start to get a perspective of what might be coming your way a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I started moving my hands around. I
That's
kind of
fine.
lost track. So,
No, you're fine. When you brought up the journal questions, we can throw some into our Facebook group like we did
oh, that's
last
a
time.
great point. Yeah, because I
So if
have
you're looking,
written down here. I'm sorry. I guess of course, I always tell everybody I'm
yeah,
terrible
you're fine.
at doing this.
And if not, I can look some up and we'll throw them into the Facebook group.
Okay.
It's called the Hot Mess Cosmic Express.
Yes,
So if you're not already joined, go ahead and head over there and join us, and then we'll get those up
Yeah, I'll
before the
about
full
throw about
moon.
5 or 6 up there because they really focus on helping you get unstuck. I guess maybe that's
I
another
know.
thing, right? As we're talking through this, maybe, again, here we go, writing another one. Maybe that Taurus energy is more along the lines of you're feeling stuck. You feel like things just aren't moving. Okay, well, then get ready because here we go. It's not just this full moon in Taurus. There's other stuff that's getting ready to happen astrologically that's going to push you to get stuff done. So, I would really will focus our journal questions and things like that on it. But again, it's just taking a look at how you're getting in your own way here. That's the big one for working with that Taurus full moon. Okay, so now that we kind of know like where we're going to focus that work if you're working with the full moon in Taurus, I wanted to walk you through on a really high level. I could talk about this for days, but what I like to call the 5 R's of working with the moon when we're working with the full moon. And again, we're still saging, we're doing all of that stuff, but if we're working to manifest or to reach goals, going deeper and trying to incorporate doing this little 5R process that I'm going to walk you guys through might help you to get a little unstuck because it's going to help you to dig through and do the process of working with the moon to manifest, just like I've done for like the last 5 to 10 years. No, not 5 to 10 years. 2019, 5 to 6 years, 6 years, 6 years. Oh, 6 years I've been doing this. So are you ready to learn about, do you ready to learn more about these?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Um, so I'm going to talk about them again, high level. We'll always kind of, I may or may not always touch on them. But so the first one of these R's is reflect. So when we're really kicking off working with that full moon energy, and again, we're working with this one in particular to see where our instinctive emotional reactions to the changes that are being forced upon us, is it helping us or is it hurting us? So that's where we're going to post a couple of journal questions in the Facebook group, the Hot Mess Cosmic Express group over on Facebook, to help you guys through some of that reflection process, just to kick off a few things. But you're going to really focus on where am I getting in my own way? But not only that, but if I could change something, what would it be? If I feel like I'm stuck, well, what would it feel like if I was unstuck? Like, would I have a different job? You're going to have to do a little bit of reflection as we go into this full moon if you're going to really work with it. So that's the first R. Okay. Then the second one is releasing. Now, this is, we've reflected on where am I being stubborn? What might I be doing to get in my own way? Well, that comes then, as we go through that and we're like, oh my gosh, I've actually figured out through reflection where there are some things that I could change. Well, as a result of that, probably some stuff you could get rid of. So that's where we get to releasing things. And it can be an energetic release, but most of the time, and it can be a physical release, is most of the time what I suggest, whether you are cleaning out your closet, going to Goodwill, whether you are hitting a delete button, or where you are writing down the things that you want to energetically remove from your, I guess I should say, from your vibrational field. Um, that's what we're talking about here. So it's getting out a piece of paper and a pen and writing down over the last 2 to 4 weeks the things, people, places, or situations in your life that, that whose energy left a negative impact on you and you would like to no longer carry it with you. Now, I want to be really clear when I talk about this because releasing and saying, I want to release this energy is not the same as forgiving. Okay. No one can ever go back and change what has happened to people. Okay. Um, but there is a point in our healing process where, as we're going through that, and this is part of that releasing, right? And part of what we're doing is we're manifesting, where we can make the conscious decision to not allow that negative energy to impact us any longer, right? We can make a conscious choice to rise above it, to fight bad just by good, to just completely to walk above it. We're not forgiving, but we're choosing to not give them basically not to let them have rent or was it not yeah, not to let them have like free space or free rent in our head anymore. And that's where that release part comes from. It's not forgiving by any means, but it's saying that you know what? I choose to not let your shit bother me anymore because I have bigger and better things to do. Now, by releasing and doing that, that doesn't mean, unfortunately, there's not like a magic wand. I really wish that there was that would make it all go away. And it doesn't. It takes a lot of work. And so, one of the methods, a lot of times that people will suggest, and myself included, is a cognitive behavioral therapy technique. And that's one, it can be anything. I would suggest that you look up the meaning of cognitive behavioral therapy, but it's the equivalent of like people will put like a rubber band on their wrist and flick their wrist, if they don't want to cuss or stop smoking. It's something that you do that you make a conscious effort to do that helps to distract your brain from something else that it wants to do. So you're kind of retraining your brain. And so when we choose to release, even, as we're going through, and I'm going to talk about the writing down process that's there, when we actually go through the physical process of releasing it, because it can't just it doesn't just go away. You do have to train yourself as you move on to not let it bother you. So I'm writing down, things like, okay, I don't want these negative vibrations to affect me anymore, and I'm going to ceremonial release them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But when that's over, what am I going to do when that thought comes up? So I always use weight loss as a process, as an example. So, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to release, I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to write down that I'm going to eat all these really, really good foods. I'm going to write that down and I'm going to get rid of all the stuff. But what happens when my kids come home and there's, they've got donuts or we've got a party or something comes up and I want, and that thought comes back up again, like, okay, I'm going to go eat it. What am I going to do right now? I don't want that negative vibration out there. What am I going to do? So what I do is I envision a girl named Julie, and I'm sorry, I don't know anybody named Julie. This is not aimed at any Julies out there. This is not, but I envision this girl, Julie, on my shoulder, and she's got little blonde hair, and she's like a little cartoon girl, wears a little skirt. I think she was probably in Schoolhouse Rock or something when we were kids, is probably where she comes from, right? But she sits on my shoulder, and I brush my shoulder. So when I have those thoughts, because I've made a conscious decision that I no longer want that negative vibration. I talk about my weight loss effort because of some things that went on as I was a child, and I don't like to bring those back into it. But I know that a lot of times that's what stems my emotional eating and my binge eating and things like that. So as I'm making that conscious effort, right, I can't go back and change any of that, but I can allow that to not interfere with my decisions right now. I can't use anymore. I can't use that as a crutch. I've made a decision. I don't want to say, oh, well, I'm this way because of that. And so when I find myself going back into that, well, I can do that because this happened. I've made the conscious decision that I brush Julie off my shoulder. And so you'll see me a lot of times, I'll kind of play with my hair. I'm doing, move with things on my shoulder. That's where I'm constantly trying to retrain my brain not to have those thoughts because I've made a conscious decision at some point to release the energy. I don't want to have it there. I can make the decision on who gets rent in my head or not. And if you don't fucking belong there, I don't want you there. And if I have to train my brain to get you out of there, I will totally do it. And so that's what that releasing is when I talk about that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody. I'm not saying like forgive and forget. That's a bunch of bull fucking shit. I'm talking about just releasing the energy, like, you know what? But when we release the energy, we don't anymore. We just let it go. We choose to rise above it. And it's harder than a lot of people would think, but it's no way, shape, or form the same as forgiveness. Did I communicate that okay to
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Okay, because it's not that anybody's ever questioned it, I don't think, but I guess it was something that I dove into. Sorry, my ear is itching. Something that I kind of popped into my field as I was on my learning journey, and I thought, well, I'm not forgiving anybody. I can't
More
forgive,
for
right?
yourself. The release is more for you than it is for like you're not for like you said, you're not forgiving the person or whatever happened. You're releasing it and for it's more for you so that you can move on to go grow.
I like that. So more along the line, forgiveness is more for them. Releasing
Mhm.
is for me. I
Yeah,
like that, Tracy. Oh, sorry, that was really loud. Sorry. That's a really great way to put it. I'm gonna make that's really great. Forgiveness is for them, releasing is for you. Oh, that's gonna become a Facebook post. Because I just really want to make it clear because like I said, I shouldn't say that people have because you there's a level of when you tell people who have gone through some seriously horrific traumas, I would never look at them and go, "Oh, you just gotta forgive and forget." That's all part about working with the moon. That's a bunch of bullshit. You can't forgive, but you can choose to release the energy. You can choose to say,
exactly.
I make a conscious choice to heal." So that's so I'm
It's
gonna
so
so
it's
that
not, like, living in your head, and then you're not, like, sitting there going over and over and over and over it. You you deal with it, you deal with the pain, you deal with it, whatever you have to deal with it. It's still you're not forgive like you say, you're not forgiving anybody, but it's allowing you to, like, "Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to grow. I'm going to, continue down my path and not let this drag me down with it and become obsessed or overloaded with this emotional or whatever it is for you. It's so that you can move on."
right, and a really interesting way to put it, I'll throw it at you in astrological terms, is that you came here with a chart, and your chart is an instruction manual for what your soul came here to do, very, very clearly. Unfortunately, there are a bazillion other people in the world who also have their own unique individual birth charts, and it would be really, really hard for our charts not to combine and fuck up other people's charts along the way. So, making that conscious effort to get back aligned, but get back aligned with your soul, right? Everybody
Yes,
wants that soul
I
alignment.
like
When we
that.
talk about that, it's getting yourself back on track with your chart. You can't help the fact that somebody else's fucked up chart came in contact and bumper card yours and threw you off. But you can make the conscious choice to put your pieces all back together, 12 little houses, put it back together and get yourself back on your chart. That's it. That's a way to get yourself back on with your soul
I like
alignment.
that. I
So,
like it becoming a line or correcting or, yeah, getting yourself back
yeah, you're
onto the
getting
path.
back. Literally getting back on track because your birth chart, that's what it is. It's what you came here to do. We're all trying to figure out what the fuck it means, but that's what it is. And so, and that's where when we talk about sometimes bad shit happens to good people, that's what I'm talking about. It's not your fault. It's just all these charts and the best you can do is just realize that I gotta get back on my chart. I gotta get back on my track. And you have to do what you can do to get there. And so that's what we talk about when we talk about releasing. Now, Sarah, now actually releasing. We talked about reflecting. We've got some journal questions we'll put in the Facebook group. But releasing, there is also pad of paper and a pen. And like I mentioned before, writing down the things that have bothered you or the negative energy that you feel has come into your energy field in the last couple of weeks. What's been bugging you? Have you been really pissy about something? Have you, sometimes it's like, man, I really want to just release the fact that I was a total bitch on Thursday. They can be whatever, but the important thing is here is to write it down because when you write it down, you change its energy. Number one, you acknowledge it. That's a big piece of this. A big part of our growth is acknowledging ourselves. When we say I fucked up, that's a big part of it. So writing everything down over the last 2 to 4 weeks that's really come up with you. So we're writing that down and then we're going to change its energy again. So we took it from a thought. So it was completely had nothing. It was air. We've written it down, so we've given it physical form, and the next act will be to actually physically release it from us. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. Most popular one is to burn it. Um, I will, but it's not always so easy to burn. So, one thing I suggest, whether you're going to burn it or not, is you've written it down on a piece of paper, and I will always fold that paper in half, and then you rip it. And when you rip it with away from you. So instead of tearing it towards you, you rip it away from you. So you completely rip and sever the energy completely, right? In one fell swoop. You just like ripping off a band-aid. So that's your first act of releasing. Now, if you don't have access to fire, that is enough to release that energy, and you can toss it in a trash can. You want to completely get rid of it, right? You want to have it nowhere near you. You don't keep this. So you want to get rid of it. But if you do have access to a fire, then that's where I would say you go outside. And after you have ripped it, then you're throwing it into the fire. And again, you're, releasing that and changing its energy, because you're actually turning it into smoke and then sending it off into the actual universe. If you don't have access to a fire, when you put it in the trash can, you can kind of visualize, hey, I'm putting it in there. But not everybody has access to a fire or fire pit. So that's like a ceremonial way to release it. So we write down our journal questions, and then we write down the stuff that we want to, just the negative vibrations that we want to get rid of. And everybody has something. You've had a bout of road rage. You thought bad about Becky in accounting. There's been something that's come up where you can get rid of something. Nobody's a fucking saint. Um, Sometimes it's a physical thing. Go to the Goodwill, change your stuff up. There's always some physical things you can do. But that's what I mean when I talk about releasing with the moon to manifest. It's work, right? So it's a bit of work, but it doesn't have to be a lot. And you'll find that, and because I said we're only focused on the things that have really bothered us the last 2 to 4 weeks, we are not talking about a full soul search here. These are things that are bugging us. And for those of us who have been through traumatic situations, you know that sometimes it comes in bursts. You may not think about something for months, and then all of a sudden you get a wave of, oh my gosh, that really bothered me last week. That's when we would write that down. We don't have to do a deep dive unless it's really, really gotten into our vibration and our energy field recently. Okay. Because eventually it will, and we'll deal with it when it does. But right now, let's just focus on what the fuck's going on in our life right now. And then you'll see as we go through the year, and you do it every month, and we do this release thing, you'll see where we'll get around to those bigger issues, and where we can really start to dive a little bit deeper into releasing and starting to heal from some of that deeper trauma that we've all experienced.
Right. It's like an onion. Sometimes you're just taking that first layer off. And as you were like saying, going around every month, you take another layer off and get a little deeper.
It's like Shrek. Ogres are like onions. I wish I could do the accent. Ogres are like onions. Oh, they all brown and smelly. Whether you leave them out in the sun, they get all smelly and start sprouting little brown hairs. That's it. But yeah, so that's the release part of it. And again, we're keeping it, we're working, but we keep it lighter. We all have a lot of deep work to do. That is not what we do with the moon. It eventually comes out, but it's honestly, and you guys, as you listen to this and as you get to know me more, I try to keep things pretty light, because life is fucking hard. And that's why I said we'll get to the deeper stuff. I promise you, as we move around to these full moons, there will be times where you're like, man, it's okay. Save it for then. Not right now. We're just talking 2 to 4 weeks. And some people I know even keep like a little full moon sheet or full moon journal, so that they know for those, like for 2 weeks, like they're writing down everything that has pissed them off or everything that's gone wrong. I mean, it's like
That's not
everything,
bad.
and it's like a notebook. And then that way, they've caught everything. I mean, that's how serious they are about releasing the negative energy, right? They want to get rid of everything, and then they're taking that and ripping it up and burning it. I mean, you can make it as symbolic and as detailed as you want it to be, but it's just a really integral part that a lot of people miss, is that emotional release is really what we're doing there. We do the physical one with the sage and stuff, but the emotional release is important. So that's the second R. Now the next two, so 3 and 4, they're both kind of go hand in hand. And those are either recommit or reroute. So we've done journal questions about, for instance, with this Taurus, where am I being stubborn? Or where might I, need to kind of let up my control, need for control or need for safety in order to move things along. We've released any kind of negative vibrations that are around us. Well, now we have to decide, okay, well, are we going to recommit, basically keep doing what we're doing, not change anything? We're still good with what we set out to do. We're still feeling good this month, right? We're not going to change anything. We're good. Okay. And that's okay. Or are we going to reroute to something new? Are we going to be like, all right, I am ready to kick off a new goal, get my ass in gear, whatever? Those are the third and fourth R's. So after we release, we have to decide if we're going to recommit to what we're already doing or if we're going to reroute to something new and set a new goal. Now, we talk about the fact that new moons are all about setting goals. You can set a goal any freaking fracking time you want. Move your life forward, set your goals, set your intentions, make your wishes on a star every night. You don't have to wait to a new moon to make a goal if you want to reroute. However, because we're not supposed to, and I say we're not supposed to when we're working with the phases of the energy, because the full moon to the new moon, that waning cycle is more of like a downtime kind of time. What I would suggest is if you say, okay, I want to set a new goal. I have decided I am going to break myself out of this shell. I'm the only one that can change this. I'm going to stop being stubborn. I'm going to just go charging down the hill and I'm going to go after what it is that I want. You've got that 2-week period between the full moon and the new moon to figure out just what it is you want and how you're going to get it, right? So have some inspired action instead of just running down the hill and going like a bull in a china shop on the full moon and going, "Oh, I'm letting off all the layers and I'm going to just accept all this change." Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's plan how we're going to do it. Let's be a little methodical about it. We can still have some Taurus like energy in that. We don't have to just go through it. So if you're going to reroute, give yourself that 2 weeks between the full moon and then when we get to that new moon in Scorpio. Is that right? Is that gonna be the new moon in
Yep.
Scorpio? Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
right, yeah. New moon in Scorpio, you've got that 2-week period to think, "Okay, what kind of goals do I wanna set? What 2 to 3 big goals can I set that are really gonna just I've decided I'm gonna reroute. It's not the old me anymore. I'm not committed to that old, same old, same old. I'm embracing some new stuff. What are the big things I wanna change?" And then we'll talk about those changes and where you've rerouted to when we get to the new moon in Scorpio. So that's what you're gonna do there, okay? So that fifth one that we were talking about is replenish, and it's all about gratitude and writing down who you're thankful for, what you're thankful for, the situations, people, places, and things. But a really, really great exercise is to take 10 seconds out of your day. And I was going to suggest that we do this, but then I thought if people were driving, that's probably not the best thing, but just to simply close your eyes and think for 10 seconds and all in total utter silence about or about one person or anybody, I guess, so you can get in there in 10 seconds that has truly loved you or impacted you in a positive way in your life. It could be a teacher, it could be a friend, it could be a Taco Bell worker, it could be anybody. But in 10 seconds, if you can take that 1 second and really just think about that one moment where that person touched you and made you feel happy, you can effectively raise not just your vibration, but the vibration of everybody around you. And that is when we talk about replenishing and doing that gratitude, that's what it's all about. And that wraps up those 5 R's for the full moon. So you reflect, you release, then you recommit or you reroute, and then you replenish. And once you do that, you are done with your full moon work. And it can all take, depending on how deep you want to go, it can be pretty quick or it can be pretty big. But anything that you do as far as releasing during that full moon, it has that aspect to it. If we're talking about getting rid of your, let's say you have multiple emails, that you get all the time and you need to just unsubscribe to them. Well, you reflect by going through your inbox and finding the emails that you no longer need, right? You release by hitting the subscription button. You decide, am I going to resubscribe or am I going to just decide that I'm not going to resubscribe? And hell, I'll probably end up subscribing to something else later. I'm recommitting, right? And then we usually don't do the replenishment or the gratitude part of it. But it pretty much, if you think about those first R's, first 4 R's, it's there with everything that you do. The replenishment gets a little bit of a back end to it because once we burn stuff, we think we're all done. But I promise if you take that extra step to do that gratitude practice, it will take your manifesting efforts to an entirely another level. And with that, that is about all I have with this Taurus full moon. So just to recap it, we're big focus here, guys, on understanding how your instinctive emotional reactions to all those big changes that life is throwing at you, how are you reacting to those? And the way that you're reacting are you screwing stuff up and sabotaging what you're trying to get done? But if you have any questions, hop over to our Facebook group, the Hot Mess Cosmic Express. And I'm going to just be quiet and let Tracy take us home here.
All right. This has been the Hot Mess Cosmic Express, where your chaos meets cosmos. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay cosmic. We'll see you next time.